In this video, we're going to focus on how we can create lines around the X scale in chart.js 4. So to do this, the first thing what we need is we need to have our border template, which you can find here on chartjs3.com getting started. Once you're on here, copy this chunk of code and you're good to go. Next, if you want to get the source code of this video and many others, check out my Patreon page and of course join the Discord channel for any questions. So let's start to work on creating these lines here. The first thing what we have to do here is maybe to consider these tick marks here. They will have impact on it, so we could do a few things on that, or later on we'll find a way around that, so don't worry about it, but I'll show you some of the options that you have to consider first. So we have here, we go here on the X scale, we go to the grid, and then we can say here, draw ticks, set this on false to remove them. If you do that, of course, your padding will go away. If you want to maintain that, there's some other ways as well. Is, for example, we can do it here. This is the tick length. And then we can say here, by default, it's 8 pixels. That is the tick mark length here. So this information will be important for us later on. So now, let's start to create our item. So for this, we need to create our plugin. So we're going to options here, or at least after the options, we say comma, plugins, sorry, and then when we go here, we're going to create a plugin. We say here maybe a, I'm not sure, table cell X scale. That's the design or lines for the X scale, something like that. And we say your constant is equals the ID. Then I'm going to say like that. That will be equal to that. And then we say here, we can do here before data sets draw. Doesn't really matter because this will not be underneath the data set at all. We need here the chart, the arcs, and the plugin options. Once we did this, then what I want to do now is do an object destructuring. Say like this equals chart, and then the object that I want is the CTX, and probably we'll be using the options to have access to this part. And let's see what we can do more. It's the scales, definitely X and Y, although we will only focus on the X scale in this video. Then what I want to do here is say ctx.save to save all variables above, and now we're going to start with it. First of all, we want to have the color, so I'm going to say ctx.stroke style, and we can just say here this color will be the RGBA and then 0.2, or sorry, 102, 102, and then here 0.2. There we are. So the reason we do this is basically it's the matching color of our grid lines. So now what I want to do is basically create lines from this point to here, every item. To do that, I need to make sure we know that we have how many lines here or how many tick lines. To get that, we can do the following. Do here console log, and then we can say here the X scale because we have here the object destructuring of X. Once I do this, save this, refresh, open up the developer tab, and you can see here we get a lot of information here because the animation loads multiple times. And then once we look in here, we can find some information like the ticks. This is very interesting because this is basically the one we need, and this here will only work specifically for the bar chart, so be aware of it. What I'm going to do here now is the following. I want to get the ticks, save, there we are, or what I meant with the bar chart, this will work on any chart, but we're going to do some adjustments here on line positioning specifically for the bar chart. But don't worry, I'll explain that later on. So we have all of these here, and what we want to do now is we have these values here that will basically determine the position of. So let's start to work on drawing the items, but I want to loop through this as well. So what I'm going to do here is I just want to know here what is the length for this. So it's a constant. Maybe tick length or something like that. Let's call it length, that's fine. And length, sorry, maybe this should be tick length. That's a bit more descriptive. We say here dot length. So once we have this, we're going to do a for each loop. So say let I equals 0. Then we say we're going to loop I as long as I is smaller or equal to the tick length. And then we have here I++, so iterated with an incremental value. Once we have this, what I want to do here now is start to draw the lines, and I want to draw the lines from top to bottom here. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to say here ctx.beginPath. What this means is we're going to create a line or a shape that's independent of anything else, then what I want to do here is the starting position. So I say ctx.move to, and then make sure the T is capitalized. And then we need here the X and Y coordinates. So luckily we already have this I here. This I is basically as well the value, and that's related to the bar chart. Everyone is at least index values. So what I need to do here is the following. I'm going to say X and then say dot. And we're going to use a chart.js function that's built in. We say get the pixel for the value, and the value would be 0 in this case, or whatever it be, or maybe I. Doesn't really matter. Let's start with 0 first. And then here, I need to get the coordinates position of this place here. Luckily, all of this is available with very easy terms. We can just say here, top, X top, that will be the top of the scale, and X bottom, that will be X of the bottom of the X scale. So we say X top. And then we're going to say here, ctx.line to, and we're just going to grab all of this. Just put it in there, and we say here we're going down to the bottom. And then once we did that, I want to say ctx.stroke to draw those lines. Save, refresh, there we are. However, as you can see here, it is in the center, and this is the reason why, because of positioning of the bar chart, it will be in the center. So I need to move it to the left or right. In my case, I will move it to the left, so we have all these lines here. How do we do this? Well, first of all, let's convert it into I. You will see that it will be everywhere. There you are. What we need to do is, this here is 0, and this point here is 0.5 or negative 0.5. Basically, it's one or the other. So this is 1, this is 1.5 or something like that, etc., etc. So what I need to do here, and this is the reason why it's specifically for the bar chart, because the positioning here should be I minus 0.5, and then we say other one here as well. For the next one line, you do that as well, minus 0.5. By doing that, it will work nicely. There we are. You can see here all of these are working nicely. However, if you look very carefully, you might say, why is this one being clipped off? Well, this is a standard thing in chart.js. We can fix that, but also if you see here, remember this part here, the tick mark, it's overlapping, and you can see because they're both transparent, it becomes slightly darker and it looks like it's different. So let's solve those issues as well later on. The first issue I want to solve here is this one here on the right side. To do that, I'm going to scroll down here in the options, say layout, because I want to add a padding and the right side. I'm going to say put padding, and then how many pixels of padding of where on the right side, and then how many pixels. That should be 1 pixel only. It's being clipped off, and that's why it's like a half pixel, and now it's a solid pixel. Beautiful. That works nicely. So now we have this. I want to have as well the line down, and after we'll figure out these tick marks issue. So to do that, the logic is almost similar, and of course I realize we should maybe assign a color. We have the color here, but what if you want to have thicker lines? You could do this. ctx.line width equals 1, 2, 3, whatever. I'm going to keep it on 1 pixels, the standard. Then what I want to do here, from left to right, I want to make sure we get this. And we do the same here, but I'll do it here at the very top. Then I'm just going to grab these position, or everything here. Just put all of this. Then, and here, there we are. Then I need to make sure we have the right position. In this case, the position will be not X top and bottom, because what I want to do is I want to have a straight line from left to right here, and then we have to get these position there. What we can do for that one is quite simple. We could just say here, we remove this, x.left to start at the very left side, and then x.right to start on the right side. Let's save that, refresh, there we are. Now I want to give this as well padding at the bottom, because I believe that it's being clipped off as well. So we can just say here, comma, bottom, 1 pixel. There we are. Now fix this here. What I want to do is make it dynamic. That if this is longer, it should recalculate, or if it's shorter, it should recalculate as well. So what I want to do here is basically solve this item, because right now I know it's 8 pixels by default. So we could say here plus 8 pixels. And if I save that, refresh, you can see now the thickness is, or the darker line here is gone. But of course, what happened if we change it here? Let's say we suddenly have only a 3 pixel length. what is happening? We have a hard-coded issue here. Let's make this soft-coded to grabbing this. And this is the reason why I grab this value here at the options. This options basically tells us to go into options, and then we can go to scale x grid to tick length. That's it. So what I'm going to do here is, and then, alright, we have to make sure we are not confused with this tick length here. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to say constant, let's say x tick marks, or tick mark length, or x tick mark length. That's fine. Then we're going to say here equals options dot, and then we can say here scales dot x dot grid, and then we say here dot tick length. Let's see, there we are. So all I do now is just grab this value, put it in here, and save that, refresh. Alright, so now if I'm changing the value to 0, there we are. We do 10, there we are, and now you can see it starts to play around and looks beautiful. And that's it.